this geometry and the way that I figured it and why it's relevant to what we're discussing today. So we're going to take about 10 minutes to do this, 10 or 15, but I want to make sure that, you know, we're all kind of semi-conversant. And I think knowing that there's some science behind this will help all of us to some greater or lesser degree in our belief that we can actually become more psychic. So now I'm going to start with this. I don't really know where I saw this quote before. It may have been from a Joe Dispenza book, but you know, the mystical, in my view, is nothing more than the science that we don't understand yet. There is science behind pyramids, and a lot of that science is science that we don't have time to go into today, but I want to introduce the basic concepts of phi and sacred geometry to the group. If you want more information, we can either take questions afterwards, or I'm going to show you a lot more information is available on my YouTube channel. The first thing I want to do is to get the concept of the golden ratio, or phi, introduced to everyone. If you look on the slide I've got up, you're going to see an A and a B, and the combination there being A plus B. Essentially, phi is used by nature as a scaling dimension. And as the equation shows there, A plus B is to A as A is to B. So what does that mean? That means what's the ratio of the length of A to the length of B? Well, as we see below, that's 1.618, and it continues on ad infinitum. It's an irrational number. But that ratio is also the exact same as if you looked at the sum of A plus B and divided it by A. So essentially, this is the only number in the universe where you can divide it or multiply it by itself, and you're going to continue to achieve this same ratio of 1.618 in all situations. So this is called a scaling angle, and this relationship in one dimension is, in this situation, is called one-dimensional phi scaling. What's the matter?
Is your phone on?
No, it's not.
Okay, there's still a lot of feedback.
Charlie, I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of echo and feedback when you're talking. So it's like double going over, and it's kind of hard to...
Let's see what I can do here. Did that help at all?
There's still feedback.
Well, let's see. Let me try. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Does that help it at all? I don't know.
Oh my God, that's tremendous. That's way better. Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, well then it was the headphones. Sorry about that. Okay. If that's better, we'll do it this way. All right. So move the window away from, anyway. What I've shown here on the page, are you getting this? Please leave this window. Let's see what happened here. Of course, I went past where I wanted to be. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to have to go back. Sorry about this. Let me start back to share again. Slideshow. Sorry.
Did somebody else join us?
Jen Dang.
Yes.
Yay!
Hey, Jen. All right.
Sorry, I thought it was at 1 my time.
Oh,
Oh, no, noon your time. So anyway, we go back here. Here is an example, a picture which shows you the existence of phi in the scaling of the human body. And we're not going to spend a lot of time with this, but the point that you'll see 62 and 38 here, as I mentioned, that ratio is 1.618 to 1. But they're calling it 0.62 to round it. But you'll see the relationships between the entire length of the body, and you'll see that the phi relationship of the length of the body, one part goes from the feet up to the tips of the fingers, and then the other part goes up to the top of the head. You'll also see the same relationship in the height of the body up to the navel, and then from there to the top of the head. And we could go on and on. That you can see the relationships between the distance between the tip of the finger and the wrist to the ratio from the wrist to the elbow is also the same relationship of 0.6 or 62 to 38. And finally, the distance between the tip of the finger to the elbow, and then the distance from the elbow to the shoulder is also in the phi ratio. So you'll see it, and I'm not going to spend any more time on this. Go back and look at this later if you want to. But suffice it to say that this scaling ratio exists throughout the human body and throughout nature. Now, what is now we're going to go into 2 dimensions, because what we were looking at is really a one-dimensional example. We're going to look at 2-dimensional phi scaling now. And in 1 dimension, as we talked about before, phi can be seen as a dimension of the body. But in 2 dimensions, the scaling can be seen through the use of circles. If you think about a line, if you had lines coming out from a point going in all directions that were the same size, you'd end up with a circle. And so to scale with circles, you could look at it as a stack of circles whose geometry either from the top increases by phi or from the bottom decreases by phi. And that's basically what I've done here. I've stacked some circles. The first diameter is 1. The second diameter is 0.618, which is 1 divided by 1.618. And then the next one is 0.382, 0.236, and so forth. Each time the diameter of that circle is decreasing by phi, or 1.618. Now, when we draw a triangle around that in 2 dimensions, we end up with a slant angle on the bottom of 76.345 degrees. So, giving that as backdrop, I discovered all of this back at the end of last year, and then found some corroborating evidence, which was just fascinating to me at the time and continues to be. A gentleman named Marshall Lefferts wrote a book that was published in June called Cosmometry, Exploring the Holofractal Nature of the Cosmos. So Marshall, up until this book was published, the last 15 years has been president of Nassim Haramain's research foundation. So he's no slouch. And this book is one of the most profound books that I have ever read but it's specifically with respect to this topic. He comes at this from Nassim's unified field theory. He comes at this from music. He comes at it from sacred geometry. But basically, to summarize, what he was able to do was to determine independently this very same geometry that I had determined doing what I had done independently. And so what his book does is it shows, among many other things, but it shows this phi scaling angle in 2 dimensions, and he shows examples of that in birds in flight, in seashells, beach sand, tree bark, DNA, and many, many other things. And not to bore you, but I'm going to show you a few examples of this from the book. And you can see he's used exactly the same methodology. He's got circles that he expands by the phi ratio, and he uses that, in this case, to demonstrate that angle in the way birds fly in the air. Here's an example of bark in the trees, the way it grows. And here's an example of a seashell in the form of actually a phi spiral. So he's demonstrated all of these techniques, but the book itself is far more profound than just that information. But once I saw that and saw that it corresponded to the geometry of these pyramids, I set out to find this geometry in man-made objects, because I started to get curious around the middle part of this year whether mankind really knew about this geometry, and if so, for how long. So I have just found a world of examples of this, and we're just going to talk about a few of them today. Religious buildings, Egyptian hieroglyphs, headwear from around the world, including witch and wizard hats, the dunce cap, the headwear of Egyptian and Hindu deities. Medieval female royalty during the Middle Ages wore these as well. You find it in the refraction of light and sound, even in boats, sailboats that sail in regattas. Their geometry of those sails is exactly the same. You'll find it in Egyptian obelisks, mystery school temples, contemporary architecture, office buildings, corporate logos, Christmas trees, you name it. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here going through this, but I wanted to show you how you would take that two-dimensional work that I did before and convert it into 3 dimensions. And so what you end up with not is circles anymore, but you end up with spheres. And when you do the same thing with spheres, you end up with the 3-dimensional phi scaling geometry, which comes up with the slant angle of 76.345 degrees. Now, here are some examples of this in a lot of religious traditions and so forth. Top left here. Well, first of all, the second one that I'm pointing at right now, that's one of the Russian pyramids that exists in Russia. To the left is a Hindu temple in southern India. This is called the Dravidian style. Every single Dravidian temple is built with this geometry. So they've known about this for thousands of years. And I've done independent, I've used a protractor app on hundreds of these temples, and they all come up with the same geometry. We look in the middle here, we're going to see a hieroglyph from the Temple of Karnak that has the exact same geometry. The top of all of the Buddhist temples have this sphere that has the same geometry. Bottom left, we have church steeples that have this same geometry. The next photo is actually the George Washington National Masonic Temple in DC. And again, at the top, the same geometry. Interestingly enough, this next picture is from the Iranian Parliament building. They have the exact geometry behind their speaker's platform in their parliament. And finally, the dunce cap. This was actually invented by a Catholic monk in the 13th century, looking at the witch and wizard hats, and what was originally a source of inspiration and enlightenment. The Catholic Church vilified his work and this way of achieving enlightenment and turned it into an object of ridicule. So here's the same geometry and the refraction of light and sound. You're going to see here on the left, this is an experiment that was done where someone took a tube of sunlight, put a spherical glass ball in it, and measured the angle of refraction. And it's exactly the same as the geometry of these pyramids. And I'm showing you here a megaphone that college cheerleaders use, and it also has the exact same geometry. So we now see it in 3 dimensions. What we're going to be talking about from here on out is this scaling angle in space-time dimensions. And this is a real quick summary, but Nikolai Kozyrev, who's a Russian torsion physicist and really the father of torsion physics, states that movement is time. And that is particularly true with respect to these pyramids, because what happens, the theory is that the torsion fields that are spiraling up into this pyramid are being funneled into the top, and are by the time they reach the top of the pyramid apex, it's theorized, that time and space become one at the apex point of the pyramid. Now, Carol and I are actually going to be doing some videos that are going to demonstrate with the Lecker antenna. We're going to do these in the next week or so, that this energetic unity as a frequency exists at the top of that pyramid. So we'll be doing that, and we'll show that to you as part of the class. So in summary, the fact that the geometry of these pyramids is built upon the phi scaling angle seems to be the reason that it produces the enhanced interdimensional capabilities that we'll be exploring in this course with Lori. So just to summarize, this is something that I put together. It's really a depiction of what I believe is happening at the very tip of the pyramid. For those of you not familiar with that donut-shaped object, that is called a torus, and that is, according to Nassim Haramein's research, the way that all things are created from the galactic down to the subatomic. And my feeling is that the top of this pyramid is the kind of that vortex point inside the torus where time and space come together, and the interdimensionality of these pyramids comes into effect. So for more information on this, go to my YouTube page, which is Stargate Pyramids, and you'll find on the homepage the Stargate Pyramid Sacred Geometry. I've got hour-long videos on the stuff I've just talked about, and I'll be happy over the course of the next few weeks to discuss all that with you in greater detail. But I wanted to give you a quick introduction as to the geometry and why it's relevant to the tremendous increase in information flow that I've had, and I'll let Lori discuss the enhancements that it has with you as she begins her presentation. So anyway, thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Lori.
Really quick, the feedback was the sounds coming back from everybody else, so we'll have to keep muting ourselves each time. But really quickly, does anyone have any questions after Charlie just showed that? I certainly did. So does anyone have any questions that they want to ask him really quick on that?
If you do, you're going to have to unmute.
Okay, my quick question. I think it's so amazing that so many buildings are built like this, and like you and I have discussed before, I first saw this, David Wilcock brought it out on Gaia, and I was fascinated by it. I really didn't tell anybody about it. Anne mentioned to me that you were trying to figure this out, and one day she came to me and she said, Charlie, and before she could get any of the information out, I said, he's got it. He figured it out, the dimensions of the pyramid, and this pyramid being so healing, and the powers behind the pyramid. Now, what I don't quite understand is, why don't they teach more of this? If there's so many buildings and so many ancient hieroglyphics and stuff like that that have this dimension and was built this way, why aren't we teaching this?
I think the best way to answer that question, Lori, is to say that this is all suppressed information. At the end of at the fall of the Soviet Union, all of this scientific research was attempted to be published in the United States, and it was summarily rejected by each and every academic journal. I don't think that's an accident, and I think it's done for a couple of reasons. The research indicates tremendous benefits in health. I haven't been sick for a day since I started making these, not a hint of a sniffle, nothing. And I'm at peace. So there's all these wonderful things from a health standpoint that we could talk about ad infinitum, but that's part of it. This is also, this technology, once you get into it, you get into free energy concepts pretty quickly. One of the things that the researchers did, for example, in Russia, was to put capacitors at the top of these large pyramids that they built. And not only did they spontaneously charge, but they would blow off the top of the pyramid. So there's free energy aspects to this as well. So I think the real answer is this is being suppressed information. In fact, I'll tell a quick story, not to bore people with this, but there was one research article in particular that David Wilcock referenced in one of his books called Divine Cosmos that was critical to my understanding how the geometry worked. And it was by a Russian scientist named Anatoly Akimov. And Akimov was doing research into the most effective, as he called it, passive torsion generators. We'll call it free energy or life force energy generating geometries. And the summary that David gave was that those objects, in this case we were looking at cones rather than pyramids, but that the geometry that conformed to the phi spiral was the most effective. Well, that's exactly how I figured out what this geometry was, not to bore people, but I wanted to get the actual article itself. So I went to my local library here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and the research librarian came back 2 days later and said, well, we found 2 copies of this in the United States. She didn't tell me where one of them came from, but the other one was the Library of Congress. And so she said it shouldn't take more than a couple of days. Well, a couple of days turned into a week, then 2 weeks. I started calling every week saying, what's going on? Why can't I get this? Why can't I get it? It took 8 weeks, and all of a sudden, both sources simultaneously said, we cannot find that article that we promised you before. Now, if you think that's, and this is the secret to what I'm doing. Now, I had to go to London to get this article, and I got it in 3 days. So I don't think it's an accident that 2 entities who said they originally had this article couldn't find it. So it's a long-winded answer, but I think all of this is being actively suppressed. You can't even find the pyramids.ru website on a Western search engine, which is the website you can go to find out about these pyramids that's based, or it's run by the Russians who have put this research together. So that's a long-winded answer. Sorry for how long it took. Are you there?
Thank you. I thought maybe Bill had a question because he was unmuted.
Well, my only comment is that, Laura, that's a rabbit hole that you really don't want to go down, I don't think. Like Charlie said, I think that information's suppressed for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to be that cynical. I guess when it comes right down to it, I hate to think it's that way, if I'm being real.
Well, I've had way too many other examples of this. I was doing a series earlier in the year on fundamentals of pyramid science, and when I started to look at some of the real pioneers in this field, when I'd go to get information about them from Wikipedia, as an example, these scientists wouldn't be listed in English, even though they were from America. But if you'd go look for them in Polish or Spanish or some other language, then you'd find the information. So unfortunately, it is being suppressed. All of this knowledge of torsion physics, the Russians really are the world's leading experts on this. And I don't want to go too far into conspiracy theories here. I don't think that our government has that this is lost on them either. I just think this science is, to use the terminology that somebody said recently, that, you know, we get B grade science in the public. So I think we probably know about it somewhere inside of our government, but it's not being given out to the public.
My question is toward Lori. So Lori, knowing that it is being suppressed to us, what can you go into where it is being suppressed and why it is suppressed? The source?
It's funny, when he was talking about the 2 documents that were being withheld from him, I immediately got an actual energy block. There was a literal block that was making sure you were not going to get that. And it wasn't something you were doing, it was something outside of you that was doing it. And when I talk about blocks, a lot of us can subconsciously block ourselves from getting information because of fear that we may have within ourselves that are preventing ourselves from growing. But here Charlie's wanting the knowledge and really wanting to get it out to other people, but something out there was saying no. And it sounds like it was our country doing it to him, which I resonate to. It wasn't something alien related or something else, which that really disturbs me even more. So I don't like to think that way, but we all have our conspiracy theories, right? Let's not go there.
That's not the purpose of the course. And so,
right. So let's get started to using these beautiful things.
There you go.
If you haven't seen the 5G video that Charlie and Carol put out, it's simply amazing. And being as in tune and sensitive to energies as I am, I was simply amazed the minute I got this pyramid. Charlie and I had done a video talking about the different ways that this pyramid benefits people. And I think we're only touching a very little bit limited discussion of how this pyramid benefits you. What I recognized immediately is everything in my life that was I was struggling in for years, all of a sudden things started happening for me that it was just very easy. And my dreams were different. They were really telling me something. And even when I started doing sessions, I didn't really talk about my profession, but I've been doing this for 15 years. And what gets me is I'm pretty good at information, but the minute I get underneath here, I get way more information. And, as Charlie was talking about the hat at the very end, in class that I give on Sundays, we had people put birthday hats on. What I was amazed by that is you could tap in. It's like an antenna to an antenna, and you could quickly get information. So as I started doing my sessions, I would sit underneath the pyramid. And I'm just going to give you some simple things that I've been told through my guidance is very beneficial to have your pyramid. When you sit in the pyramid, face west. Faced west for best results. Just FYI on that. You don't have to. It just is a really beneficial way of sitting. The next thing is, of course, trying to clear the mind. Just completely clear the mind and focus on the breath. And I'm glad, Jack, you have a paper and pen. If anyone else needs to go grab one really quick to take some notes, I will be sending out a packet of stuff that we will be doing and doing exercises on. And I'll look for some feedback from you guys with this. I think it's very important that every day, and I don't care what time of day, you sit in here at least 10 minutes a day. And my thing is, I sit in here a lot longer. I think, Jack, you probably do too. Ann, Carol, Charlie. I mean, I don't know about Bill, Tom, and Jen. I know you just got yours. But what's amazing is the more you sit under here, it's like what Charlie says, the more you feel whole. And if anyone knows Joe Dispenza, he talks about that quantum field. Well, by having this pyramid, all you're doing is enhancing that quantum field even more. So again, we're going to start out with just some simple information that I want to give you, because just simple things that people don't recognize, and I think it's very important. Again, facing west in the pyramid, recognizing that the right side of your body is masculine. It equals moving forward and the masculine energy. Your left side is feminine and the past or past lives. So if anyone didn't realize that, I want you to be really familiar with that. And then again, with the breath, and for just one moment here, I want everyone to kind of close their eyes, take a deep breath in through their nose, exhaling out through their mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And I want you to imagine that photograph at the very end Charlie was giving us of that swirl coming down from the top of the pyramid. I want you to think of kind of a periwinkle color that's a kind of white with a little purple in it, just swirling down and around your head and around your neck, going clockwise, down and around the body, balancing that masculine future energy with that feminine past energy, just balancing and centering those energies, grounding your feet into the earth, just feeling very solid, very grounded. Making sure you breathe in through your nose, exhaling out through your mouth. Getting very familiar with your body, feeling the feelings of your body. As you're imagining that swirl going around your body, balancing and centering it, I want you to imagine an amazing spiritual guidance coming to you for the next 4 weeks, going to be your spirit guide that you're allowing into your heart to help and guide you. To allow you to have psychic vision, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognitive. Take a deep breath in. Able to speak to loved ones who have crossed over. Allowing yourself to make the right choices. Have abundance coming your way. To open yourself to your soul and expand the soul. Expanding the soul outwards and creating the life that you want to live. Take one last deep breath in through the nose, exhaling out, slowly coming out of that. That was really good. Did anyone feel any sensation they want to talk about?
Yes, I do. So I sat in it when I first had it, and I got a lot of upper chakra, so like all within the head. Like you, it was very addicting. So I would sit in it like for, at least like 5-10 minutes, and then go do what I needed to do, and then came back and sat in it for a little bit more. And then just as we're going through all of this and the torsion, I felt first the feminine side of it, and then a lot of the masculine side. So I don't know if that was energy that was blocked that's been released, or there's just more fluidity into all of this.
You're absolutely right. It's more fluidity. There were only two people I really had to help through this, and I worked on some areas, and those were clear. But what I noticed the most, and this is what's the most important thing, is you must keep yourself grounded. The one easy thing to do in all of this, especially in meditation, is that you just want to float away and just keep doing it. Like you said, get really addicted, but you must stay grounded. When I grounded everyone or talked about grounding, you guys all calmed down like really quickly. I don't know if you guys recognize that. Charlie, you're laughing. Well, y'all did really good. Like I said, there were two of you. I'll talk to you later a little bit about that to kind of clear it up. Charlie, did you want to say something?
All I was going to do was to say, I've been at a number of expos over the last year showing this pyramid. And besides the physical feelings of tingling and especially effects in the head, probably the feeling of peacefulness is the most common response that I get when people have been under the pyramid for the first time. So there seems to be a real sense of relaxation, and I think that's a connection with your higher self, in my view. And you might have a thought on that as well.
Yes, absolutely right. And the other thing is, you talk about the downloads. The downloads happen right about the back of your head right here. I have these far more today than I have ever had. And here I'm a person that, meditated for 5 hours a day for a year. So, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. Now, when I mentioned having guidance come to help you by a raise of hands, who felt someone come and join you to help you? So, okay. And then do you already, show me for those of you that already have a guidance that helps you today. So for those of you not raising your hand, do you have a good internal gut and instinct? You do, Tom? Okay. You're kind of shrugging. What are you saying, Tom? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, I think I do. I don't necessarily feel any person or past, family member or anything, but.
So when Charlie's talking about your higher self, would you be in agreement that you're really good and connected with your higher self then?
I think it's something that I work on and I'm conscious of, yeah.
Can I ask you, have you had psychic experiences?
Yes, I've had a spontaneous out-of-body experience, and then I was doing a lot of yoga and I was trying to induce one, and I was able to do that. But then after that, I wasn't able to do it. So I'm not
Okay,
sure.
so the one time that you did it, and this is why I'm trying to get a hold of everyone, because when I talk to you, these are the important things that I need, because if for whatever reason at that moment that something phenomenal happened and you kind of like cut yourself off of it, or something else might have cut you off, I want to.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of yoga, and then had everything was kind of in flow, and then I injured my knee, and then I wasn't able to do all the exercises that I think got me to that really high energy state. And then I've had various injuries since then.
Yeah, so if you and I could get a chance sometime this week to chat, I'd love to do that.
Okay.
But knees, we've talked about that before. Knees really get people. Left side again is feminine. Knee is,
Yeah, I was on the left side.
yeah. So I would look more at, either wife, mom, or something like that.
Yeah, it's my hip now. My knee's actually okay. It's more my hip. Left hip.
So again, on the left side though, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we started out with really understanding the masculine, feminine, and getting that balance and centered. Your right knee, of course, men, and moving forward, masculine energy. So sometimes we can be afraid going forward, knowing what we've learned in our past, thinking that it's going to recreate itself, right? And as a psychic, what I try to do is get people really familiar with their mind, body, and spirit, because that's the way you're really going to be able to be psychic. Okay? So everything in your body has a consciousness. And if your hip is bothering you right now, it's trying to tell you something. And if you communicate, say that again?
I didn't say anything. I just nodded.
Okay. If you can communicate with it, it might tell you what's going on, and then you can release it and move forward. So that's just.
Well, I think it told me to build a pyramid.
And it's sometimes that easy. I mean, even like Ann does reconnective healing. You can get a reconnective healing from her, and it'll change everything for you. You won't know what happened, but it will make it better.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that. Yeah.
And
Believe me, it works.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so I've got some stuff coming to you this week. Like I said, I would have gotten it to you today. I want to make sure I have everybody's email. I think there's supposed to be about 12 people in class coming up. This was our first class. Again, if there's something when it comes to psychic ability you really want to know and learn, I'm the person to talk to. We're gonna learn it in this class. And I'm sorry, what was that? Okay, and really get you familiar with energy. Everything is a frequency. So I want to just talk about this just for a second. Your sight is a frequency coming to your, just a frequency of colors, right? Coming to your eyes. The sound is a frequency, taste, touch, smell. It's all a frequency. Does everyone understand that? I mean, we say we understand it, but if you really get the idea that water has a particular frequency, right? Every water is going to have the same frequency. Coke is going to have a different frequency. I've had someone be on the phone with me one time, and I could smell that she was smoking weed, because it is a frequency, okay? So just remember, there's sense and frequencies everywhere, sight, sound, there's just certain particular energies that if you get familiar with it, you will be able to sense the psychic sensations that your body is telling you, okay? Anyone have any questions about that?
I mean, I'll just make a comment, back to some of the stuff I was talking about earlier today. The frequencies of this pyramid are such from the research that's been done into harmonics that the ratio of phi helps to define and dampen out frequencies that are not kind of part of what you're trying to experience when you're trying to connect to the higher dimensions. And so this is all about frequency and vibration. So
Okay, perfect. And the frequency and vibration being of a higher sense, of a positive higher sense. Intentions are everything. I tell people this every day. If you know what your intentions are, if you know what your intentions are in this class, you're going to have that happen. So if your intention is to have a better understanding of what psychic ability is and be able to be psychic, then it's going to happen. And it's simply by knowing yourself in the moment, who you are, what your thoughts are for the moment. Have you ever had an experience where one moment you're not hungry at all, and yet you run into someone and all of a sudden you're hungry? Has anyone had that experience before?
not so much with people, but I have it with a lot of other stimuli.
Okay. Well, and sometimes it could be that you were really happy and then you get up against somebody else and all of a sudden you're not very happy and you don't understand why. It's just simple energies like that. What's great about the pyramid is you're getting under this positive frequency that anything that might have been negative, it's going to just kind of wash it away. And it won't be as significant. And while you're doing that and you're in the pyramid, my suggestion is to monitor every thought that you have. That's the first exercise we're going to do this week, is to monitor every thought you have. Okay, Bill.
Well, I'll let you finish. I have a question about what you said earlier. So.
I'm done. It's just when you monitor every thought, what I want you to really focus on is just your thoughts positive or are your thoughts negative, and really recognize when they're positive and when they're negative, but also keep an eye on, and this is the most important thing, monitor your thoughts during the times you're doing things that are an everyday thing. Get up, take a shower, get ready for work, driving to work, things like that. Because when you're in that mode, that's when you're the most psychic. Because your body is in a subconscious mode that's constantly moving already, because it's done it so many times that your brain is just doing what it needs to do to get ready for the day. Your question, Bill?
So I'm kind of confused about how the energy circulates inside the pyramid. My understanding was that it circulated from the bottom up to the apex, and yet you seem to think that it goes from the apex to the base. Does it even matter?
You want me to try to answer that? Or I'll answer it from the research that the Russians did, at least. And the view that Wilcock has expressed is similar to what you're saying, Bill. That if you looked at the pyramid, you kind of turned it upside down. It's sort of like a funnel that's like in a drain pipe or your toilet or something, and it's going around in a clockwise fashion. So yes, coming up from inside the pyramid, their research is it's coming up and it's spiraling out at the top. However, I've had so many people people who are experts, are in their fields. Even, for example, when I did the interview with Marshall Lefferts, he kind of was expressing a similar perspective that there may be, in fact, energies coming from above, coming down, as well as ones coming from the bottom going up. So I don't know that there's anybody who has a definitive answer to that, but the torsion field research tends to indicate that they viewed it from coming from the Earth, coming upwards in a clockwise spiral.
Go ahead, Jen.
So I think what Lori is trying to get us all to do is connect to the universal energy in terms of like tapping that in. I know that theoretically, it is from the bottom spinning up the vortex thing. But I think if I understand you correctly, Lori, is for us to kind of connect with whatever you call that, you know, the universal energy. And so that's
Right.
where
The
I
way
got it
Bill
from.
was explaining it. What's interesting, I get it funneling down if you turn the pyramid upside down to us. So it's kind of like, you know, exactly what you're saying, Bill, but just coming from the ether, as Anne loves to say, the Ethernet.
So could it be that there's two different types of energies going on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Unlimited, multi-dimensional, interdimensional. There's so many different ways we can look at this, and we're just beginning.
If you
Okay,
look
well, I'm
at
not
it,
going to focus on that anymore.
Well, we will be focusing on that, but that's not until like the 4th class. So it's not anything we
Okay.
need to worry about right this moment. We're just kind of touching the surface today. Yes, Jack.
if you look at some of the graphics of the Earth, the magnetics is forming a torus, and it comes out the top end.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Yes.
that would make sense that it would come out the top and the bottom to form the toroidal ring.
Well, as you know, Charlie was showing, our bodies do the same. Our bodies do the same thing. We also have the tetrahedron that goes on.
Right.
Any questions about psychic ability, and if you have difficulties, or if some kind of belief or something that has prevented you from being psychic, or if you just feel like there's no way you could ever be psychic? I want to hear those kind of things.
I guess I have some reservations. I would like to be, and hence I joined the this forum or this class. But I don't feel the intuitiveness that I think that a lot of people do. My daughter's very intuitive, but she negates it most of the time. So
And can I ask why she negates it?
I'm not sure. I think part of it is in one of her relationships, it was she denied she had it, and she didn't want what she was feeling to happen, and so she hasn't gotten back into that intuitive.
But did it happen?
Oh, it happened.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh about it, but
It was very painful.
you know, and a lot of times it is. And when people come to me and say, why is it I always get the most painful things? And it's not that that's the way, you know, the universe wants you to have it, or and we say it that way, but it's innately within us. We can all do it. We all have this ability. It's just like a dog or a cat comes in the room and decides to leave the room immediately because it sensed something. We have the same ability. It's whether or not we've been taught and learned how to be able to do it. And your daughter automatically has it, and it's kind of saying everything is happening that they're showing me to be negative. It's because that denser frequency, it's easier for her to pick up. And if anyone has
Tell her she should make a change in her life.
you know, that's a big, you gotta start creating a better life. And some people think that life just happens, but I'm here to tell you, you have to create your life. I mean, I've done it both ways, and I much prefer creating my life over allowing my life to just happen. But where was I going with that? The denser frequencies that you get, I think, is there to really help you. I know what I was going to say is, anyone read, by a show of hands, Be Here Now by Ram Dass? So it's no good to use this example except for when he went to go eat the muffin. Do you guys remember he ate the muffin? He ate 2 muffins. And this guy hadn't been talking for about a year, but he went to go to the guru after he ate the muffins, and the guru knew that he ate the muffins. And the reason why is because he felt bad and guilty for eating the muffins. So that energy, that negative frequency, the guru could get. If it was not a big deal and it was, you know, he had joy out of eating the muffins, I think it would have been a different thing. But and for your daughter, my thing about it is I mean, intuitively it sounds like, Jack, you suggested she needed to make a change in her life. And I feel you're absolutely correct. But I think the other big thing is we've always been taught to think and not to feel. And we're actually human, so we're meant to feel, right? And we're brought up to being competition or always be right or whatever that is. And in the psychic world, it's never about that. It's letting your judgment go. It's letting, you know, any thoughts you may have about a situation go, and just feel what's really there as opposed to what you think is there, right?
Okay.
So that's the thing that we're going to focus on this week, to really feel and really be in your body and really recognize, you know, I look at the older generations of our society and look at how many times, you know, things weren't told to them, whether they were adopted or whether, you know, your dad isn't your real dad, or, you know, all of these different things that people went through during that upbringing. Well, how would you know what the truth is? And knowing a frequency of something is knowing what the truth of the frequency is. So when you get right down to it and you learn who you are and what you're about and your understanding at a purity sense, then these frequencies are just that. What the frequencies come in, like dehydration. You know what the sensation of dehydration feels like, right? So you can get up to next to someone, you can tell, oh my gosh, they're dehydrated. It's just simply a matter of knowing yourself over someone else. Does that make sense for everyone?
Yes.
Thank you.
So Lori, do you have any like psychic exercises that we can practice?
Yes. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to be sending you some information that I really want you to start doing. But just to start out, monitoring your thoughts, I want you, if you're not writing down your thoughts, I think it's important that you do that. That is the first thing that I want you to do. The second thing.
What do you mean by that, Lori? We can't write down every thought. So which ones are you want us to focus on?
Well, it's funny you say that, because if you really want to be in the present moment and really want to be here now instead of in the past or the future, you can be able to monitor your thoughts. Now, it's true, you can have a couple songs going in your head and still have a thought going on, right? It's important to recognize that your brain is doing that as well. So my thing is, we are always constantly getting information. It's whether or not we actually look at it as information. So when you have a thought, I want you to start writing down simple things. For example, you get up in the morning, the weather guy says, no snow, but you think I should probably put the shovel in the back of the trunk just in case. And you don't do it, and you drive off, and it snows, and you're stuck. Right? Something was telling you, put that shovel in the trunk of the car, whether the weather guy told you it was going to snow or not. Right? How many of you have had that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Umbrella, sunglasses, whatever it may be. Something is always helping us, guide us, whether we've paid attention to it or not. So this week we're going to try and pay attention to it. And that's why monitoring your thoughts, it would be something to that extent. Like, oh, you saw something, oh, forget about it, I'm not going to get it. Grab it anyway. The other thing that I want you to do, and this is what I like to do, is have people say mantras. The only way you're really going to get psychic information is if you stay in the present moment. So saying something like, I'm extremely psychic. I have psychic abilities. I'm able to get psychic information. Something like that I want you to say when you're driving, when you're doing something repetitive, when you're doing something all week long. I want you to open yourself up to allow this to come through. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I guess along those lines, maybe I'm getting into next week or whatever, but when I sit under the pyramid, I find that I will put stuff out as an intention. I want information about this geometry or something, about pyramids, say, and it can either come to me. It doesn't come to me while I'm putting that intention out, if that makes sense. I almost have to be quiet and still my mind a little bit for it to flow in. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and has anyone ever seen Down the Rabbit Hole?
No.
If you haven't, it's on YouTube. You can watch all of them. It starts out with What the Bleep, and the rest of it is Down the Rabbit Hole.
Oh, What the Bleep. Yeah.
And Dr. Alan Wolf, are you familiar with him?
Read Alan Wolf, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Love this man, but I love how he explains it so scientifically. And I wanted everyone to do this today, and I forgot to mention it. I want you to write some intentions in the pyramid right now during class. And I want you to put these intentions down of things that you want, but I don't want you to tell anybody about it. I want you to keep it to yourself, and I want you to look at it, write it down, and just put it away. That's all I want you to do. What he suggests is that, and I truly agree with all of this, is when you put a focus on something to create it, if you keep looking at it, it's going to miss you. But if you put the intention out there and you let it go and you trust, it's going to happen. So that's what these pyramids do. And what I've noticed the most about these pyramids, and I have many people sit in mine, is they immediately have a sense of calm and clarity about them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but if my mind is so busy and so chaotic with thoughts, there's no way I have a good sense of what choice or decision I need to make next. Jen, did you have a question?
Yeah, so let's say when we're having this class, and can you tap to each and every one of us and kind of align us?
That's kind of what I did when we did the first meditation. You want to be aligned to what? Jen, what do you want to be aligned to?
to, I mean, higher self or to the universal, to your sole purpose?
Oh, everyone is. Yes, I was able to make sure that everybody did that. So that is all done. And that little exercise that we did is something good for you guys to do in that 10 minutes a day sitting under this pyramid. Does anyone have any other ritual or anything that they do when they sit under their pyramid they want to share?
Yeah, I do. So I have tuning forks, and I tune my chakras sitting under the pyramid. I place the end of the. I have a little. Well, I'll show you here.
That's pretty cool. So
Can everyone see that?
Okay, so you put a tone on that, and then what do you do with it?
So it has a little boot, and then I put that on my body, and I vibrate the fork, and then put it on my body.
And in your words, what do you feel happens to you?
Well, well, I mean, it feels good. I'm trying to, keep my chakras, aligned, blocked, unblocked, and cleared.
It actually expands your power when you do that.
If you say so.
No, I can feel it. And it's weird. My crown chakra went crazy.
I also do some Reiki.
I'm sorry, Jack, what did you say?
I use some tuning forks generally prior to sitting in the pyramid in the morning. I have all the chakras.
Yeah, Bill is saying he does the same thing.
I don't want to digress, but I'm getting a lot of questions, Jack and Bill, about 432. And I know, Lori, we've been talking about it. So, I'd be interested in knowing whether that's a frequency that you guys are using in your tuning forks.
No,
I have. Go ahead, Bill.
No, mine are much lower than that.
But are they harmonics of 432 or 440?
Mine are.
This one here is 136, 128, and then 96.
Well, 432 would be 108. As a harmonic. I don't know. Anyway. All right.
I think the harmonics of the Schumann resonance is what they're using. The difference between the two be at the Schumann resonance.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes what I do is I take my 136 and my 128 and put them on like both sides of my knee, and that actually creates a binaural beat.
Yeah,
the 8 hertz, which is the Schumann.
Okay. Got it. Okay. All right.
Who's asking you questions, Charlie?
Oh, people on the forum, on the website, and people write me and they want to know about 432. We've discussed that ourselves just in the last.
Oh, yes. Okay. I thought you meant as we're doing this, people are asking questions.
No, not right this moment, but I got another one this morning written in to me on an email, and I've gotten some on the website comments.
Well, one last thing I'm going to say is for those of you that have used your left brain quite a bit, all your life, you're going to have to start using your right brain quite a bit during class. So just be prepared.
Okay,
You got to
how do
let
we
go
do
in a
that?
lot of areas and let go of that control.
How do we do that?
You got to trust. You got to learn to trust.
Trust what?
Well, I understand what you're saying there, Bill, but my thing is, do you trust that the sun is going to come up every day?
Yeah.
And you trust that it goes down every day?
Yep.
Do you have any control over that?
No.
Okay, so let go of anything similarly to that you no longer have control over. That's going to be about 90% of what's out there. The only thing you can control is your reaction or words or behavior, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone's good at meditating. No one has any difficulties there?
I mean, I
Well,
would
I
say
don't
that.
feel I'm doing meditating.
I'm sorry, Jack, say that one more time.
I don't feel I do very well at meditating.
Then you and I need to have another conversation if you don't mind us chatting this week.
Okay.
And Bill, what did you say?
I was going to say the same sort of thing. I mean, it's, I can sort of concentrate on nothing for a little while, but then, the monkey mind always comes back. So
I will tell you, meditation was one of my most difficult things that I had to learn. The first week or so, I would doodle. I just doodle for like a minute, just to kind of keep my mind preoccupied just to that. And then I would meditate for 1 minute, same time every day for 1 minute. And then I'd do it the next day. And then I was able to go longer and longer and longer. It is like learning a new art. It's learning just to calm the mind, to be still. And if you have that chatter, it's okay. Just recognize it and kind of let that go and go right back to quieting the mind.
I have a question though. I mean, were you able to actually get to a point where you felt like you were just, not concentrating on anything for, say, longer than 10 minutes?
Absolutely. I do that all the time. I can do
Okay.
that now. That's
Okay.
why I feel most of the time, I feel I'm meditating, even talking to you.
Okay.
The thing about that is, and what I find so profound about it is once you get the feel of it and understand how to do it, then most of the time your thoughts are clear all the time. I mean, for people that have an everyday job that they have to work and think about that kind of stuff, I have to say that's a little more difficult. But my profession is helping people do this kind of stuff. So I don't necessarily have to think constantly. I don't have to use my left brain all the time. So that's probably the fortunate part about me. The one thing I recognize though is just clearing that thought out. And if I notice my brain is just kind of, whether, for example, if I started worrying, I have to go right into a mantra right away because I have to stop myself from doing that. And just recently I started doing that because I take care of a 4-year-old and it's a boy. And Charlie got a taste of that yesterday.
Oh, I have a granddaughter too, so, nothing wrong with that.
No, but it's difficult sometimes to get still and relax and stuff like that when you're always, jumping and constantly whatever. But Bill, back to what you're saying, just be okay with the chatter for a moment and kind of push it aside again and go right back to it. Don't get upset that you do that. Just try and the deeper you get into meditations, I've had the most profound meditations. I've had Einstein come to my meditation and show me that, you know, how that astronaut G-force thing that people get into to prepare themselves for, you know, going to space. I was in that, and then I was standing outside it, and then he had a clock with me standing outside it, and he was showing me the G-force. I think that's what it's called. I'm not really sure what it's called, but and I was just spinning around, and when I came out, that time that was spinning around stood still, but the clock that I had kept going, right? Well, what I was being explained is when I meditate, it's like the speed of light. Although it seems extremely fast while I'm meditating, everything else is slowing down. My organs are slowing down. My aging process is slowing down. You know, whether it was my heartbeat or whatever it may be, is slowing down, even though I'm at the speed of light, learning knowledge and gaining, you know, wisdom through my meditation.
Thank you.
And that's a good point, as a lot of people think, well, am I supposed to do that in meditation? Not necessarily. It's just, you may get it. I had another meditation where I wondered how did all of these existence know that Atlantis was lost, right? And in one of my meditations, it showed that the top of the pyramid would open up, and the water in the pyramid would reflect back what was going on the earth. And that's how people know what happened to it. So I thought that was an interesting meditation as well. Sorry, they're cleaning here.
I've got a couple of questions. One, I mean, when we put together our list of intentions, I'm just going to kind of say what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pick one because I want to focus on something and kind of see the results on that. Is that a good way to do this or not?
Well, like I said, I want you to write it down, feel it while you're in here in this course, and then I just want you to let it go. I want you to kind of forget about it. Forget you even wrote it.
Oh, so it really doesn't matter to you whether we write 1 or 5?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. That's what I wanted to know. And then when I'm under the pyramid meditating, should I just be, for lack of a better term, in receiving mode? I should not be trying to transmit those intentions to the universe?
I'm told that any way you do that is good as long as the intentions are positive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. So you really don't want to be under the pyramid with negative intention.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
Because they'll get enhanced, correct?
Absolutely.
That's right. David
So if
Wilcock,
you're in a bad mood, stay away from the pyramid.
Well, or just know that your intention when you go under the pyramid is to get rid of the bad mood. I mean, that's the other thing. You don't want to be in a bad mood. What I teach everyone, on a scale of 1 to 10, you want your energy to stay at a high 10. If it's going under 7 or below, you're going to receive negative experiences, negative frequencies, negative energies. You don't want any of those things. And yes, I will say this, what's difficult is when you have pains like in your hip or your knee or your back or whatever it may be, it's difficult sometimes to keep your energy up all the time. That's where I'm hoping a lot of this course will help people into healing those areas. like I said, Anne does an amazing reconnection. I don't know if anyone else does some healing. I mean, I can clear some energy. I like to find out what, like, for example, Tom's hip, I like to drill it down and say, this is what's going on in your life. Well, can you tell me a little bit about this? And then be able to clear it out, and maybe it heals on its own. But, you know, Anne can actually, with reconnection, put you back to your original state of being. And usually in the first time, it puts you back to healing. So that's pretty amazing.
All right, I have another question. If we are working on an intention and we're not getting the results that we're looking for, what would you, can you tell us what might be, is it a blockage that, you know, an energy blockage that might be holding us back? Is it a belief system? Could it be both?
Okay, great question. And here are the ways that you can have that not happen. You're not aligned and acclimated. You're also possibly subconsciously blocking yourself from it, or something outside of you consciously knows that you want this and doesn't want you to have it. So those are the ways those can happen. Good question. And I'm the person that can tell you how you're subconsciously blocking it and who is blocking it and whether you're aligned or acclimated to it.
All right.
And the other thing is, just for knowledge purposes, I'm just going to explain to you, every human can innately pray. And I don't mean the pray sense of what religion has taught us, but how you put an intention out in the universe. Everyone can automatically do that. It is just something we do as humans. And what's amazing is when you put that out in the universe, it's kind of like a boomerang effect. You put it out there, and I can always tell if I say to someone, hey, say a prayer for a minute, I want to see what happens to it. Either it stays with them or it goes out. If it stays with them, it's not going anywhere. If it goes out, it's going out there. And then I wait to see if it comes back. If it doesn't come back, something out there is doing something. And when it comes back, I check to see if then it aligns and acclimates the person. And it's amazing how that works, because we have got to be the magnet to magnetize our intentions. And the only way we're going to be that is when we put it out there, it's got to have the energy within us, if that makes sense to everyone.
Can I ask a question? So that energy, from my understanding, is more of an emotional type of energy.
Okay, Bill, I'm going to ask you, when you were young, out of high school, and you just wanted something, did you feel like it was a real emotional thing?
No.
Yeah, me neither, and I can manifest it like that. Right? The more conscious I became, the less it seemed like I could manifest the things I wanted. It seemed like a conscious thing to me.
Did you have to speak it, or could you think it, or both?
I never spoke it. I was kind of like the Napoleon Hill type of person, where I would just kind of like keep it to myself. And that's why I say to do that with this pyramid. And the reason why I say that to a lot of people is because a lot of people you may surround yourself with doesn't want you to have that. And you don't want their energies preventing that. And it can happen. Did I answer your question? Did you have that other question that I didn't answer?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I quite honestly, I'd like you to go over those three things that you said could be blocking us. And again, if you don't mind, because I didn't write them down. And second, I mean, I'm sure this is the hidden question for me. Maybe it is for everybody else too. But, you know, are we going to be able to kind of go over some of these issues with you during the class on an individualized basis?
I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, if anyone is willing to share what their intentions are that you've written down for this course and you want to share it with me and I can identify whether you're aligned with it or not, I would absolutely do that with you. So the first thing is that you subconsciously could be blocking yourself.
Okay, so subconscious blocking. Okay.
Second thing could be that something outside you is blocking you, because it could be a person, place, or thing. In my experience, and I have someone that muscle tests me at this a lot, is that there are energies outside me that are aware of what I want to do, and they don't want it to happen. So, and then the other thing is not being aligned or acclimated to your intention, or with your intention, however you want to put that.
So you would be able to tell us that information, what's keeping us from.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right.
Who wrote their intentions down?
I haven't decided which ones I want to focus on yet, but yeah.
I did.
Okay, so Jack, you have yours?
I do. I have 3 of them.
So you're all set to go. And that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty confident that this pyramid and the exercise that we did is allowing you to automatically be prepared for that.
Okay.
Write their intentions. Carol, did you write yours?
I'm going to have to go get a piece of paper.
Carol?
She's trying to unmute. I'll unmute her. I'll unmute you, Carol. Oh, maybe I won't. There we go.
All right. Yes, I did write mine as well.
Yep, you're all set to go. You're good to go. Tom, did you write one down? You need to find paper and pen as well.
Should I do that now? Or?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I hope no one mind that the class went over. I don't mind if no one else minds. Jen,
I know I don't mind.
Jen, did you write yours down?
Yep.
Yeah, you're good to go. Anne, do you just have yours in your mind?
I wrote them down.
Okay, you ready to go?
Oh, you want me
I'm
to?
ready.
Okay, you're good to go, Anne. You're good to go. Bill, did you write yours down?
I did.
Okay. You sitting in your pyramid?
Sitting in my pyramid. Yes, ma'am.
Can we add to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bill, you're good to go.
Cool.
Boy, that sounds like something big, Bill. Just share the wealth. Share the wealth with the rest of us if you get that.
You want to hear it?
No, you don't have to tell us. No.
Well, I don't mind.
Oh, you go right ahead then.
It's really quite simple. I mean, it's just to increase my energy and my psychic ability.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I mean,
See how good that feels? Can everyone feel how good that felt when he said that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jen, what did you say? So we have 4 more people that's going to join us next week.
Yep,
Wow, that'll be amazing.
it should be. Now, some of the people are saying they probably will have to listen just on a recorded version. And before everybody leaves, I will say as soon as I get this cloud version, I will send a link to it so everyone can review this session during the week.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't be able to make next week.
Okay.
Mountain biking in Moab.
I was gonna say I'll give you extra homework just for that.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Well, being in nature, you would think you were so in touch with your psychic ability.
I'm in survival mode out there on my bike.
So that sounds risky.
Mm.
You need to let it go and have fun.
Oh no, I do.
That sounds like a Thelma and Louise thing there, Jen. He's in the mountains.
Does anyone mountain bike?
No.
We don't have mountains. Tom, do you have mountains?
A cornfield bike out there.
Yeah, we have some mountains. We don't have snow though.
Mm.
No. I'm San Diego.
I used to live in Seattle though. We had a lot of snow up there sometimes.
All right, any other questions?
Lori, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I comment, and I that having this pyramid makes it very easy to focus in on intention and to get there much quicker.
Absolutely.
Should make it easier for everybody.
Absolutely.
Laura, I have one question.
Yes.
Is there too much of a good thing being in a pyramid?
No.
Stay
No.
hydrated. Drink plenty of water.
Well, I'd like to know your thought process behind that, Bill, only because, you know, this has been so helpful for me when at times it's just been so sluggish and no movement. When I get a pyramid, all of a sudden things are moving. I mean, that blew my mind. And I'm someone that can manifest things pretty easily.
Well, I'm hoping I can too. We all can, actually. That would be a good thing for us to work on.
Yeah. I'll put out the precautionary tale or notice only to this extent. Obviously, if you start to feel anything tremendously out of the ordinary, if you become anxious or lightheaded or something, use practical common sense. But I have not had any experiences of a negative nature. It depends on your energy sensitivity, how long you should stay in or can stay in. But again, use common sense. If you're not feeling well, it's time to get out. But
Common
most
sense
of the
and
time, that's
always
not going to be an issue.
common sense and always ground yourself. That's what I would say over and over again. Make sure you ground yourself. And I don't ever put any cautions out like that. And maybe I should, because I don't think that way. I always think of the positive, but if something does happen, I clear the energy. So if you feel like something weird or something happened that is unexplainable and it doesn't feel positive, please talk to me about it. I can see what it is.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I guess I should talk a little bit about that. I didn't really explain what I do, but I've done readings for many years of my life, but my main thing is I clear energies that are negative, that are not in harmony with the universe. So when I take that away, things start happening to for people. It's kind of like the pyramid did for me. Is something weird that's happened over and over, or a child that is misbehaving for so long, and I find something in them and clear it out, and the child is fine from that point forward. There's things that I can clear energies with, and that's my that's the difference between me and other types of psychics. I don't like to talk about your future. I like to talk about your cycles and patterns and your behavior and change that so you don't keep repeating the same thing over and over again.
Sounds like my kind of psychic. Well, if there's no other questions, Lori, should we wrap up for today, and we'll get back again next week?
I got a quick question. I have a quick question, Charlie. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, Lori, you said to face west. It seems like I heard some other information about facing north. Is that? Did I see that somewhere?
You mean like facing true north and just feeling that energy from the magnetic pole of the north?
I guess where I thought I read that or I saw that on a video, but you're saying that we should all be facing west. Is that correct?
You know, it's interesting that you say that. If I ask what would happen to your energy if you're in the pyramid for a certain period of time, it will cause you conflict being faced north. So I would like to understand, I need to look at that a little bit more to understand why that would do that to your energy or maybe anybody's energy. Is anyone in the pyramid facing north right now?
I am.
You are.
Yeah, I'll do west next time, but I have to rearrange things.
Okay, and for my suggestion, I would just say, see the difference of how it feels. And even if you change your chair 5 seconds and then turn it to another in 5 seconds to see the difference. But what I'm being told is your energy kind of has a conflict with it right now. And that your energy would flow better if it was facing west. And does everyone know that when we ascend, we should be facing east when we leave? A lot of hospitals have the beds set up for that already. I didn't know if anyone knew that.
Yeah.
Meaning the foot of the bed is facing east? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the foot of the bed, yes, would face east. Yes, yes.
Assuming you're on your back.
And I've known this. A lot of times I'll have like a particular psychic thing going on, and then I'll turn to a different direction and I'll forget the psychic thing I had in mind at that moment. Anyone else? Directions are big. They're very big. And there was something else, Tom, that you made me think of when we were talking about that. So you were talking about the true north. I need to find out why that would, if I face north, what would that do with my energy? So if I face north right now in the pyramid, it's telling me that my power would go low. So I need to find out why that would be. And everyone knows the true north is shifting, right? It's turning.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone's aware of that?
Yes.
Or is there a big difference between east and west, though?
And what's your intention behind the question, Charlie?
Pyramid, I'm facing east, and for me to face west, I'd have to find a new spot for my pyramid.
Oh, that was you, Bill, that asked. Okay. Like I said, it's just a suggestion, but if you're going to face a different way with your pyramid, I just need to know, because I need to make sure that your energy is going to be beneficial in that direction. That's all. It's just a suggestion. Yes, Jen.
What happens to my energy if I face north?
Your power goes down like mine. Can you feel the difference?
Well, in this class, I was facing north, but I'll just meditate facing west.
So is this west where you're facing now?
Yep. And I
Okay.
was getting pain on my knee.
Okay, so as you're facing west right now, your energy is going like really fast. So Tom, you're now facing west, correct?
Correct.
Now see, your energy is again going fast like Jen's. Anyone, can you tell the frequency of your rate of your body when you're underneath it? Can you feel that tempo?
Are you saying the faster is better, or?
Well, actually, it's your natural rate of energy that it should be flowing.
Okay.
And when you, like, say, for instance, if you and I had a conversation, Tom, if you started talking about certain people or places or experiences, if for whatever reason your energy stopped, that would tell me that your body just isn't resonating to something about that person, place, or thing. So I would try and identify what that is. So getting more familiar of your own energy under the pyramid is the best thing to, like I said, hone into your psychic ability so you can really, really get good at this. So Charlie, you turned around for a second. What was the difference for you?
I'm just experiencing this for the first time. I have my pyramid facing west in the bedroom, but it's night and day. I can feel a huge difference for me facing west now rather than I was facing south before. Yeah, it's like I turned off a switch
Right.
coming back this way.
Right. And it's huge. And I wondered if anybody slept in their pyramid. Anyone sleep in their pyramid?
Not
No.
big enough.
Oh, I mean,
We need a 20-foot tall pyramid for that.
putting a cot there, right? Jack, what direction are you facing? Hang on, Jack.
I am currently facing west. I
Okay.
turned north and didn't feel any difference.
You couldn't tell the difference?
No.
You will by the end of 4 weeks.
Okay,
We're
I'm
gonna-
counting on that.
We're gonna get you there.
All right.
You gotta feel your feelings. Do you know what you're feeling right now?
I kind of feel peaceful either way.
Carol, you changed there for a little bit. Did you feel a difference?
Carol?
I did, absolutely. Like a switch, like Charlie said, it was like a switch.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm facing west now, and I definitely feel more buzzing in my body.
There you go. That's what we're looking for.
a lot more buzz for sure.
That's what we're looking for.
Wow.
The view's not as good, but hey, you know.
You know what, Bill? You know where I'm sitting? It's kind of against the wall. So people come into class and they immediately sit here, but they feel like they're in the bad corner because they're in trouble.
Wow.
But they still don't leave the pyramid.
Right. Well,
That's a,
All right. So Ann, I'm going to mute you guys because Ann's trying to talk here. Okay, Ann.
Well, I guess maybe I'm a little confused, but everyone's acting like it's such a big deal to change direction in the pyramid. You don't have to move your pyramid. You just need to move yourself inside it and face west. Isn't that correct?
correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So it shouldn't involve anyone having to move their pyramid. They just have to move the way they're seated in there.
Well, Bill was just saying it's just a not so
Well,
aesthetic view.
Since we're setting up the video.
I heard somebody say something like they were going to have to move their pyramid, and I thought, no, that's not right somehow.
No, I'm gonna move everything so that I can set up a table in front of me so that the video is facing me.
Oh,
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, like Ann, my pyramid in the bedroom is facing, it's easily to face west, but I'm sitting here at my desk and I would face south normally the way the desk is set up. So I think that's what, people are saying is they may have to reorient their desk or whatever, their workspace.
so that fast, rapid energy that you're feeling as you're facing west, think of this right now. This is the quantum field. If you watch that 5G video that they showed, and this is what I love, because for everyone in this class, it goes out about 4 or 5 feet all the way diameter around all of us. So it's protecting our energy from the 5G. Just think about that just for a moment. But as it's saying that, we're intensifying our quantum field. And if you recognize that quantum field starts from the heart, like you were saying, Bill, starts in that emotion, right? And it is right in the present moment, putting your heart sensitivity into that quantum field, being in that vision of the future in the present moment. That's what this pyramid does. Does that make sense for everyone?
that brings up another question that I had. So I have another pyramid in my bedroom, but it's not real close to my bed. Is that going to have some effect while I sleep?
And let me ask you, is it a Russian pyramid or the one like Charlie put out? Is it the smaller
It's
version?
Russian.
It is Russian? Yeah.
Okay. Is that going to have a positive or negative? Is that what you're asking?
So the reason I have it in there is because, I don't want to have to get up so many times during the night.
Okay. And get up because you wake up?
Well, to take a pee.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's different. I was going to say, if your mind is waking up, you and I need to have another discussion.
No.
Okay, so that's just a matter of a bladder issue.
It is prostate issue.
Yes, it is.
She's in the medical industry, so.
May I ask Bill a question? How long have you had that one in your bedroom? And number two, have you noticed having the pyramid in the bedroom that your need for sleep has gone down?
I probably had that was my first pyramid I made, so that's probably been there for 4 months. And I don't get up it depends. I get up once a night sometimes now. There'll be other times when I don't get up at all for like 6, 7 hours,
Oh,
which
that's
is
great.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it has a negative effect at all. And if you want to benefit your sleep even more, face your feet going west on your bed. So I'm just going to, anytime
Oh,
someone
no.
says, what
I'm
direction
not going
should I
there with
lay
that one.
bed? I tell them, and a lot of times they'll say, I can't do that because my bedroom's not faced that way or it won't work that way. And I totally get that, but just know that that helps too.
I tested my energy in my pyramid with some L rods, and the energy is at least 8 feet out from this pyramid, near the side of my bed.
That's fantastic.
What did you say you tested it with?
Some L rods, and as in you use in dowsing.
L-rods. Okay.
Now
I
that's,
just made them out of copper wire.
I was gonna say, that's some talent right there.
Mhm.
Knowing how to use those rods, that's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Well, I'm still learning.
You ever check for water or anything else anywhere?
Not too much. I have a well, and I used time to see where it was coming from, and it gave me the direction. But it seems like my well is a water mount that comes from the bottom and then flows out away from the well in one direction. I live up on top of a hill, and I have a 65-foot deep well.
And then, so how does it work? Do you have a particular intention when you're looking for something, or can it be anything?
Well, when you're using them, you ask for uh, the energy. When I was standing away from the pyramid, I asked to be shown the beneficial energy was. And then I started moving towards the pyramid, and they crossed. So where they crossed was where the beneficial energy had come out that far. And by the second, you can change energy that is not beneficial by just saying, "Dear God, change the energy that is harmful to me to beneficial energy," and it'll do that. You can do it with your phone or anything that's gone on. And I heard this from a dowser by the name of Joey Korn.
That's so cool.
So I'm new at this.
I like it. I like it. You know, you'll notice in the packet that I sent out, I give you different ways of learning how to muscle test. And I think it's important to start doing things like that under the pyramid, whether you have a pendulum or muscle testing, because the pyramid gives you such clarity when you want to ask some questions, and it's the best way and the best place to ask questions. So being really familiar and using something like that is important. So your dowsing forks, I would think, would work as well.
I've been doing that muscle testing since I read Power versus Force, and use the little finger connections.
Oh, good. So show me your favorite muscle testing.
I generally put my fingers like this, and then if they stick together, that's a yes or positive. If they come apart, it's a negative.
Okay.
The other one I use if I'm in the grocery store is I pick up an item and hold it to my chest and ask if it's fit for my body. And if I sway forward, it's yes. And if I back, it goes back on the shelf.
Okay.
You like that in?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's terrific. I think you know a lot more than you know.
Well, and if we asked our bodies all the time by muscle testing whether we should eat this or not, our bodies would say no.
Started it.
How was that again? You're fading in and out.
I was saying, if you go to the grocery store and you go, wow, this food looks really good, I'm going to muscle test it to see if it's good for my body, you would muscle test bad. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been a little over 2 hours now. I think we'll end at this point, and I'll let Charlie finish everything here.
Hey, Lori, thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, I want to thank Lori for, I think this is going to be great. I would just say I will be sending out later tonight or in the morning a link so you can go back and listen to this again at your leisure, and for those who missed it, obviously, for the first time. But Lori, if you would, I mean, I just want to make sure I've written down my intentions. I'm going to focus on those through mantras, or I might call them affirmations during the week, associated with my intentions. And then I guess the other thing we're supposed to do is to quiet our mind during our time under the pyramid. If I'm saying it right, I'm just trying to summarize for everybody so we can start to receive, I guess, feedback or knowledge coming through on those particular intentions. Am I right?
Yes, and monitor those thoughts. My time of my meditation is in the afternoon. And what I recognize is by the time I get a meditation, I've experienced so many people, places, and things that when I meditate and I calm my mind, I start going through each one of those different experiences, kind of like an inventory. And I check to see what happens to my energy each time I do that. It's a really good way to gauge, did you feel good or did you feel bad? You know, do I want to do that again or I don't do that again? The reason why we a lot of times aren't in touch with our own psychic ability is we do things and we don't recognize why we do them. So I try to teach people, know why you do something so that you, one, either don't do it again, or two, have a different intention each time you do it so you have a different outcome. And that way your life changes for the better. And then you get more familiar of your own emotions, somebody else's emotion over your own, things like that.
And then I guess my final clarifying question, the thoughts that we're supposed to be monitoring and writing down about, are those thoughts related to the intentions that we wrote down?
No, again, the intentions we just want to let go. We've already written them down. We've already looked at that. We want to let that go. Now, for the rest of the week, we're just going to move along with our week as normal. The only thing I want you to focus on is, what are you thinking on a regular basis? And is it positive or negative?
Okay.
The more negative thoughts you have, the more your energy is going to be low and not as positive, and you're not going to get good experiences back. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay. Okay. Now I'm with you. All right. Well, anyway, I appreciate everyone's time. I don't know that we'll go this long next week, but we'll see. I certainly am willing if everyone else wants to stay on. I'm sure Lori doesn't mind as well, because we want this to be as helpful for everybody as possible. And we will have, I'm sure, a lot of people wanting to comment on their experiences from the last week. So, you know, try to budget 2 hours maybe, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Thank you, Charlie.
All right.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right.
Thank you,
I
Charlie.
gotta
Lori.
go.
Okay. We'll see everybody next week. Same time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.